Computer. Good morning, everybody, and hello from Seattle. I am talking today to my friend Hoda, who is coming to us live from Cairo, Egypt. Good morning, Hoda.
Good morning. Actually, it's good evening now. It's
How do we
almost,
say that in Arabic?
yeah,
It's
when the
Sabah al-Nur, right?
Sabah Noor.
So a lot of you have probably heard about Hoda or seen her in many of our videos. We are kind of the dynamic duo of Egypt because we like to run tours and make videos and do crazy things. But I thought today it would be really fun to talk to her just because I know there's a lot of concern about the Middle East, a lot of people wondering if traveling to Egypt is still something that you can even do. And yeah, we want to let you know that Egypt is still open and Egypt is available, but also there's just a lot of interesting things going on there right now, from the money to the politics to changes in tourism. So I thought Hoda would be a great resource for us to kind of get to know what's going on in Egypt, but also for those of you that have never been to Egypt or never even thought about going to Egypt, it might be interesting to hear about why, in my opinion, it's the most unique destination on the planet. There's nothing that can possibly compare to it, and nothing can possibly compare to Hoda. That is also true. She's
That's
my number one guide in the whole world. I don't think anybody is better than her. So, first of all, Hoda, tell me, how is Cairo these days?
uh, Cairo is awesome. Cairo businesses. I mean, for people that just like watch the news, they might think that things are crazy, but business is running as usual. Let me tell you, maybe the number of tourists or travelers who are visiting Egypt is not as many as we usually get, especially at the beginning of the winter season. But we still have so many people, different nationalities, visiting Egypt.
That's
So
really,
yeah, it's amazing. I mean, I've got friends who are busy now, working, and maybe not as busy as usual. So if you were to have like 2, 3 trips a month, maybe now you're up to two or one tour a month. But we still have business in Egypt, and as you know, Egypt doesn't need actually any sort of marketing. Egypt is marketing itself. It's in every person mind. One of the things in the bucket list is Egypt. So there's always someone who's interested to come and visit Egypt.
yeah, of all the places I go, and I've been all over the world, and you guys know that I do tours all over the world. Egypt is just a place that I cannot think of any other place that offers, I mean, no other place offers the pyramids and the tombs of the ancient kings and the history that goes back, what, 5,000 years? Probably more than that, right?
Almost for 4,500 years old.
Yeah.
The pyramids and not just the culture and the history, but also we've got so many other things to offer in Egypt. Like for example, on our 2 weeks trip, the 14 days trip, we offer the Red Sea, which is one of the best places for people to go snorkeling, diving, relaxing, beautiful beaches. We've got the Red Sea. We have the desert, we have the oasis for people who like to go and do desert camping. So we've got so many things to offer in Egypt.
Yeah, there's so much to do. And so one of the things I wanted to talk to you to kind of kick off the conversation is that the first time I went to Egypt, it was not outrageously priced, but I thought it was more expensive than I would have expected. And that has very, very much changed. So can you tell us a little bit about what happened to the Egyptian pound? And it was in about a year ago, right?
It was, yeah. It was almost a year ago. It's good for travelers who really wanted to come to Egypt to come at the moment. Um, the um, the currency is being devaluated. So, for example, the US dollar was 15 Egyptian pound to the one US dollar. Let me tell you now that it's almost 50 Egyptian pounds to one US dollar, which means for Americans, if you're interested to come and visit Egypt, this is the best time. If you, for example, decided to exchange 100 US dollar, you will end up having 5,000 Egyptian pounds. That will allow you to buy and shop and do many things and do many excursions.
Yeah, I went out and took you out for meals, and they were so inexpensive. And we went shopping for clothes actually when I was there in the spring. I
And
got
then the other
beautiful linen shirts, absolutely gorgeous, finely made linen shirts that would have cost me 50 or 60 bucks minimum had I bought them a year or two ago. And they were, I think, like $12 or something. So it's really a great time to come to Egypt if you want to shop in particular.
To shop and do sightseeing. And let me tell you that in addition to the currency, and also because it's not as busy as it was supposed to be, let me tell you that we were all, as people that work in the tourism industry, we were kind of like scared about the number of travelers that were planning to come to Egypt. 2024 was a booming season. There was a big interest, but all of a sudden, and because of what's happening in the Middle East, what's happening between Israel and Palestine, so many people were hesitated, were concerned. They canceled their trips, and we ended up receiving less number of travelers than the ones that were expected. We were afraid because the number of people that were showing interest and the number of bookings was overwhelming. We were struggling. The other day, we were struggling to get bookings for hotels, Nile cruises, even flights. Like a year, the year before, planning for October 2024, we were struggling trying to find the best rates and the best hotels. They were all overbooked, but all of a sudden, and because of the situation in the Middle East, we're blessed that we're now using the best five-star hotels and the best Nile cruises, and it's still within our budget. So things have been changed, big change.
Yeah, well, and it is funny because I know you and I had conversations like a year ago where we were kind of panicking because we had already priced out our tours and then we couldn't get rooms, or the rooms that we usually use were triple the price that they normally would be. And it was completely insane because they thought this year was going to be such a banner year. And it was really hard to put stuff together. And now all of a sudden, yeah, we can have any house we want.
To upgrade. We're even to upgrade the rooms that were for the same value. We're able to upgrade the rooms that we were supposed to get. We're able to get better Nile cruises than the ones that we've used before. In a way, that's part of the deal. If people decided to come to Egypt, not just that it's not going to be as busy as usual, and you can tell you came to Egypt when there was nobody almost, and you came to Egypt when it was super busy, and you already know the difference.
Yeah. Yeah, well, and so that's my question to you now is like, how are the crowds right now? Because like the thing is, when Egypt is busy, it's overwhelming. Like the Valley of the Kings, Valley of the Queens it's absolutely packed. You know, all of the river cruises are packed. The pyramids, I mean, it's like almost Vatican Museum levels of crowds. How is it right now?
No, not really as Christmas time, for example, or not as many as our last March trip. It's busy, but still, people can enjoy it. Not as busy as crazy.
Yeah.
So it's like one of the best times to come and visit is right now.
And you had told me that Americans seem to be canceling their trips, but Europeans are not. They're still showing up, and people from South America and things like that. So there are still a lot of travelers, but just not Americans, right?
Yeah. The number I would say, like, because I work for some other big American travel agencies, and I can tell you that the number of bookings is not as many as last year. For example, still people are visiting, they're booking, but there's a lot of concern because one way or another, uh, people, especially Americans, they know, they see that America is somehow is involved in what's happening in the Middle East. There some people, and especially Jewish American, they're quite concerned about their safety.
Yeah.
All these concerns, and I can tell you that all these concerns are just while they are still in America and watching the BBC and CNN, but they come to Egypt and they can see how far is Egypt from what's happening. And if people are really following, they know that Egypt is a peace mediator, actually, where we're trying to solve the problem. We're not part of the problem. It's not in our best interest. We've got so much on our plate. Egypt is not ready for any sort of political problems. So what we're trying to do is to play the mediator between Palestine together with some other Arab countries like Qatar. So most of the peace negotiation, it's actually taking place either here in Cairo or in Doha in Qatar. We've got so much also support from the American, from US, from the American government. And that's why so far America did not advise the American travelers to travel to Egypt. I would assume if America or US felt that there was any sort of danger that might face American travelers, they would just consider Americans traveling to Egypt or advise people not to travel. Um, in contrary, they actually trying to encourage Americans to come to Egypt.
Yeah, well, and I guess the distance thing is the thing that a lot of people don't realize. It's that the distance is quite great between where we are on the Nile. So basically, when you visit Egypt, Egypt is what, 90% desert? It's mostly desert.
Yeah,
It's a huge amount of desert. And what is that? Sorry?
96% of Egypt is desert.
It's desert, yeah. So the only little piece where people live is just along the Nile. It's just a little skinny thing. But that is how long? 8-hour drive, more or less, from the Sinai Peninsula, at least, right?
At least between 8 to 10 hours drive.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's a crazy, crazy long distance. And so people look at a map and they think, oh, that's right next door. But Egypt is roughly what, the size of Texas or something like that? It's enormous.
Almost, almost. And let me tell you that even in Sinai Peninsula, we have so many Europeans. We have lots of Brits, lots of Eastern Europeans that come to Sharm Sheikh. They come to Dahab. They go to the Red Sea to Hurghada, and they're enjoying the beach holidays. And even when you are like 2 3 hours away from the Egyptian Israeli borders, people are still coming, and it's still safe. And we have to remember that Egypt does have a peace treaty, and we signed a peace treaty with Israel a long time ago. We have political relationship with Israel, economical relationship with Israel, and very good relationship with America as well.
Yeah, so Egypt, it's important for all players involved, the Arab states, the United States, Israel. Egypt just needs to be stable. And actually, you and I had an interesting conversation when I was there in April about that, about how the Arab states have poured money into Egypt because it's like really a keystone state in the Middle East that they need to keep stable. And that money from all of these Arab states is coming in just to keep everything peaceful, keep it where it needs to be. Is that correct?
Exactly, exactly, and that's why last time that I came to Egypt, you saw the big change that happened in our infrastructure, new roads, new bridges, cities, and so it's the new capital, the administrative capital of Egypt. So many new airports, so many big projects that is taking place in Egypt at the moment. It's not in anybody's interest to stabilize Egypt. It's a
Yeah.
key, you said.
Yeah, so I guess the way that we are looking at it, just so you guys know from our point of view as a tour operator, is that we are still running our tours to Egypt. We have one in January, which still has seats. That's our little shorter version, which it has all the things you really want to see in Egypt. Plus, we already have a sold out April tour, and then we also have an October tour available. We're sticking with Egypt because this is such a good time to go. We've seen it when it's crowded and it sucks. It's hard. I mean, it doesn't suck. It's still magical, but it's just harder to see things because it is really crowded. It's harder for us to get good hotels, harder for us to get like the right hot air balloons time slot. Like there's so many things that happen when Egypt is super popular, and it's always going to be popular. So this is just kind of your sign to think about potentially going to Egypt, even though I think in your mind you say, oh, that can't be a good idea. Honestly, Israel's really far away. So,
And let me tell you, sorry for cutting you, Sarah. Let me tell you that also people make the people they do Egyptian people they do actually appreciate tourism, and people are super friendly. And when it comes to travelers who are coming to Egypt, and this is something that maybe you've noticed yourself, Egyptian people are generous, and they're friendly and they're welcoming. So, and especially because the American movies are like it's a very famous thing in Egypt. So when they see Americans, they're so happy to practice their English. They're so happy to talk to people, and they know everyone in Hollywood. They know all the movie stars. So Egyptian people they do love Americans, and this is something that I usually hear from people after spending like a week or 10 days, and when they leave Egypt, they don't just think of the pyramids, but they think of all the warm, friendly Egyptian people that they meet while they're on the tour.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. So we're going to just kind of put a bookmark in that whole thing because I know that's the number one question people are asking about Egypt. Is it safe to go to Egypt right now? I'm never going to say anywhere is 100% safe because nowhere is. I live in Seattle. It's not safe in Seattle sometimes. So I cannot guarantee your safety anywhere in the world. What I can say is we feel comfortable taking our tours to Egypt still. We're running a normal schedule as per usual next year. And so that's, I think, something I wanted to let you guys know is that we have confidence that Egypt is a good destination for this upcoming year. So I just wanted to put that out there to start. Let's put a bookmark in that because I don't want this to be kind of a downer conversation talking about political strife. What I actually would also want to hear from you about is that in the time that I've been doing tours with you, which is about 5 or 6 years now, we have seen a lot of change in Egypt and a lot of exciting new things happening because I think Egypt, for a lot of people, you think of Indiana Jones, right? You think about how you're going to be walking through a market and there's going to be a snake charmer and you're going to have your wallet stolen and there's going to be like a motorcycle chase or something weird like that. Like we have these weird ideas about the exotic level, and it meets that exotic level for sure. But because of all of this investment from the Arab world, a lot of really exciting modern things are happening in Egypt. And I guess the first one that comes to mind for me is that new museum that we have taken groups to. What's the one called? The
The
archaeological?
Grand Museum,
No,
the
the other one that's already open.
museum,
Yeah,
the the Civilization Museum.
that is such a beautiful museum. It's one of the most beautiful museums that I've seen opened in the last 10 years. They've basically curated a really tight collection that explains the history of Egypt going back to the Paleolithic era, basically. And then in the basement, they have all of the mummies of the kings. And you go down there like you're going into a tomb and you walk around and you can see the story of each of them. Plus, it's sited right on the Nile. So you go out on the terrace, you have this beautiful view of the Nile. It's a gorgeous and very modern museum. And most of our guests that go there are really shocked because they can't believe what a beautiful modern museum it is. Now, this is where it gets a little hairy, though, because the big question is what's going on with the Egyptian Museum? Because we keep being told, and let's see, every single year that I've come to Egypt, we've been like told, oh, it's going to open the new Grand Egyptian Museum. Instead, we end up back at the oldie, moldy, dusty, although I really like the one that's on Tahrir Square. That's a nice old museum, but I always laugh because you see the treasures of King Tut that are in these like wooden cases that have like, instead of padlocks, they have like wire twisted, like twist ties to keep you from opening them. It's like the least secure museum I've seen in my life. So anyway, the idea that they're going to move that collection to this brand new museum at the foot of the pyramids in Giza is just so enchanting. What's up? What's going on?
I wish that I could have an answer to tell you. It's pretty much finished, but I can tell you it's more than 95% of the artifacts has been removed to the Grand Egyptian Museum. It's like some sort of like soft opening for the museum. It's partly open, and if you remember on our March trip, we've even decided to take our tour. It wasn't part of our tour, but we've decided just to give the people a small taste of the museum. Only a small part of the museum is open at the moment as some sort of like trial. It's like soft opening for the Grand Museum. When exactly? We keep hearing different dates. I'm not sure, to be honest with you. I'm not sure. Last time I was told that maybe December this year it will be open, but still for our October group, Adventures with Sarah, for our October group, we will be visiting both
Okay.
the old museum, because it still got very little part of King Tut treasure, the mask and some of the coffins and some of the jewelry is still at the old museum. So we're including this one in addition to the parts which is already open at the Grand Egyptian Museum. So there is a plan, and they're working on this plan now, is to connect both the Grand Egyptian Museum with the Giza Plateau. There will be like some sort of like a walkway connecting, and it's almost done. So yeah, next time you come, you will be able to walk from the Grand Egyptian Museum to the pyramids area. At the pyramids area, there's so many projects around the pyramids area trying to develop the area itself. So so many things happening at the moment.
Yeah, and they have the solar boat. Where did that go? Did that go to the Grand Egyptian?
They moved it. They already moved the solar boat that used to be behind the Great Pyramid.
Yeah.
Uh, like 2 years ago, they moved it, and it will be displayed. They managed to move the whole boat, which is for people who doesn't know what is a solar boat. The solar boat was discovered by accident 1953 behind the Great Pyramid, and it was all buried under the ground. It was all in pieces. It's 1,200 pieces of cedar wood that was imported from Lebanon, 2,500 BC. They used this boat for the king after his death to carry the body from the east bank to the west bank where he was supposed to be buried. And then after the burial, they decided to dismantle the boat and hide the boat under the ground, so the king will use it for his his journey to the afterlife. It was discovered 1956, all in pieces, and it took them almost 4 to 5 years to be able to rebuild the boat. And the boat is actually 42 meter in length, and it's intact, made out of Lebanese cedar wood, and it was all transported. They moved it from the Giza Plateau, and it will be displayed at the Grand Egyptian Museum. So it's at the Grand Egyptian Museum now, and once it's open, everybody will see it.
That is one of the most impressive things I've seen, a wooden boat from 2500 BC. Like if you go to Rome and you go, oh, everything here in Rome is so old. You go to Egypt and you're like, no, that's actually practically new in comparison.
And it's massive. No, it's not just a boat. It's a massive boat, and it's intact as well. And like when it used to be displayed at the pyramids area, I always try to encourage people to go and see it. To see something which is like 4,500 years old and is still in such a good condition, it's overwhelming.
It is. It's incredible. So it's also just really neat to know that they're looking at that whole area around the pyramids and they're trying to develop it. And actually, if you've never been to Egypt, which I'm sure most of you haven't, we think of the pyramids as being in the middle of the desert and there's nothing around except for the Nile and palm trees. That's not, yeah, that was like that like 100 years ago. Now, Giza is actually a pretty big suburb of Cairo. I would liken it to, like, I live in Seattle, like Bellevue. Like it's a big city on its own, and it surrounds the pyramids. So what is really neat, in my opinion, is that they're trying to really respectfully take care of the area that still remains that is desert, that really showcases the pyramids. So it's neat because they've also developed like some little restaurants and things like that are really tastefully done, so it doesn't really disturb the view, right?
It looks more or less like a tent in the desert.
Yeah.
The
So
desert.
they're doing really beautiful, neat things. So I guess that's just another thing to kind of put into your pocket as you're thinking about Egypt, is that I just have been incredibly impressed by the progress that I've seen there. And it's really nicely, tastefully done. Italy could learn a thing or two from Egypt. And actually, that's something that I've thought about doing, is documenting the toilets of historical sites around the world, because I've been so surprised. Like we went to one of the ones, like the bent pyramid, I think I went with you, and I went to use the bathroom, and the bathrooms in there were so clean and so nice compared to the ones in the Colosseum in the middle of Rome or in the Vatican Museum. No contest. Like Egypt has facilities that are so clean. I was really surprised.
And we have to remind everyone that tourism is really very important to the Egyptian government. Part of like taking care of the sites, it's because it's our culture, it's our heritage, it's our history, and we're so proud of it. And the other part that tourism is big source of income to Egypt.
Yeah.
Tourism number three or four source of income to the Egyptian economy. After the Suez Canal and also after uh, it, people who are working abroad and sending money to Egypt and exporting and importing. So tourism is really very important. And let me tell you that almost 1 out of 7 has something to do with tourism.
Yeah.
With working direct, like myself as a guide, a tour operator, or working for hotels, or even a chef. So it's a big sector in Egypt, tourism.
Yeah, so that brings me to another question that people may be asking. I'm sure if you've heard about traveling in Egypt, you've heard that number one, you should be with the group. Like that's really important, isn't it? It's like individual travel in Egypt is pretty rough, isn't it?
I agree, because not everyone speaks the language. So the language would be a big barrier. The infrastructure in terms of transportation is not the best if you're a solo traveler, if you're traveling on your own. You wouldn't rely on public transportation to move from A to C. No, distance between one place to another is big distance as well. So if we're talking, just to give people an idea, if you want to travel from Cairo to Aswan, where if you're gonna catch the train, the overnight train, for example, we're talking roughly 14 to 15 hours in the train, and it's, I mean, Egyptian train. It's Egyptian train, so I cannot promise with a big thing. So yeah, plus Egypt is not an easy destination to navigate on your own. This is something that I can tell you.
Well,
I
I've heard, by the
I
way, and
other
maybe,
place
oh,
I
sorry.
left sorry, I lived in other places where you could come as a solo traveler and go and do things on your own, have your guidebook, take a public bus or the metro, and you will be able, if you're traveling in Europe, for example, this is something that you can do it on your own.
Yeah.
If you're traveling in Morocco, I haven't been to Morocco, but I would assume that Morocco will be easier than Egypt.
Yes.
Yeah.
I would have no problem recommending people to travel in Morocco on their own. But I have heard, and maybe you can confirm this for me, that even Westerners are not allowed to take certain buses, subways, things like that. They will tell you you cannot take it, right?
Yes.
You're not
Yeah.
allowed.
You're
Yeah.
not you're not allowed. Like for example, there's only one certain type of trains that tourists can take from Cairo to Luxor and Aswan.
Yeah.
Why? They all the government shows lots of or how
They
they
protect it.
lots of pressure. They put lots of pressure on security.
Yeah.
On security and the security for tourists, and this is something that you've experienced yourself with me, that every single time that we go on a tour, we usually have a police escorts, that someone with a big machine gun that comes and be with us the whole day while we're doing our activity, even when you came to my house with your group to have dinner with us on
Yeah.
our last trip. uh, and this is to show how important the safety for the Egyptian government, the safety and security of travelers who come to Egypt. That's why they don't allow them to use public buses, or they don't allow them to use the public trains, for example, except for some certain trains that has security on it.
Yeah. So that is just all to say that taking a tour, this is why we are so dedicated to offering Egypt tours, because it's not really a place that solo travelers, like travelers who are not on a group tour, can do easily. I mean, and yeah, anyway, I just think that it's kind of crazy to do that by yourself, especially when a tour can do it so much better, more efficiently, safer. And you're going to you're going to run into those roadblocks all the time. I've heard a lot of people who've traveled independently in Egypt that it really is kind of frustrating because they can't take the subway. They're not allowed to. So there's just a lot of stuff like that. So that leads me to the next thing that people ask us about a lot. Tell me about the guys who carry the guns who are on our buses. I know it sounds so scary that we have to have these security guards, but actually, it's really funny to me. I mean,
It's
not funny. It's not funny, but you know what I'm saying. They're such nice guys.
uh, for us, and this is what we both agreed to, that they tend to be a third eye.
They are.
They are. There's so much help for us, especially when we go to crowded places, or when we go out in the desert. They keep an eye on everyone on the group, and I don't know. They're kind of like talented. They trained. They don't know the names of the travelers, but they remember their faces.
Oh,
And
yeah. I remember that at the Sphinx recently. We couldn't find one of our guests, and the security guard, we'd only met him 2 or 3 hours before. He came and he told us, "Oh, yeah, I know where they are." And he went and he grabbed them. And I was like, "How did you know that? You just met us, and there's tons and tons of like Western looking people here. How are you able to do that to automatically a guy you just met?" Oh yeah, I know where he is. Like that's very cool actually. They're like our shepherds, German shepherd dog.
and they're so dedicated as well. They're so dedicated, and I mean, we don't have to tell them what to do. They know what to do. They're always there to help and protect, just in case if anything happen. I mean, usually nothing happens, but just in case, and they're always there to help.
And they've always also been helpful if there's like a medical emergency, they can help with that. They can help with all kinds of things. So I like having these guys with us because they're usually really funny, they're really friendly, and they're really good with helping us with the groups. They're also a good backup. I remember I wanted to go to the tent maker street and I was just go by myself while the group was walking around the market. And the security guard is like, "I'm going to go with you." I'm like, "I don't need you to go with me." He's like, "Well, you don't know where it is. I'm going to take you." I mean, just they want to be helpful. And so it looks intimidating to people when they first get on the bus. And then you get to know them and you're like, "No, this is actually really cool. They're really nice." And they're usually just a lot of fun to have with us, right?
And the other day, when I mean, if some for some reason one day they didn't show up, our group would be surprised why the security is not here today.
Yeah.
they,
Yeah.
they get used to it. They get used to it.
They get used to it. And it's like, I think of it like our bus drivers, because we always include our bus drivers in our tour. We have them dine with us. We talk to them, and it's just like yet another local perspective. You can ask them questions. The security guards are kind of part of the family too. They're just part of the group, and it's really fun to have them. So I just want to like make sure people know that like it's actually a really cool, positive thing that the Egyptian government offers that as a service. And we take good care of them. We tip them, we feed them, we keep them at, a part of the group, but it's actually a really nice service that they offer. I felt like Princess Diana, honestly, because the one time we had the police escort and our bus had to take a left. You remember this, right? It was a really busy morning and there's so much traffic everywhere, but this police escort sped in front of our bus and blocked oncoming traffic so that our bus could take a left. And I felt like we were dignitaries. I was almost a little embarrassed. I'm like, "Oh my gosh, they've stopped all the traffic in Cairo just for our bus to turn." But that's the level of importance, I think, that demonstrates how the Egyptian government takes us as visitors so seriously. They really want to make us feel good about our visit and go home and tell other people, right?
Because nothing is like the word of mouth.
Yeah.
When when you go back with good experience and fun, that's what you will be telling friends and family, and that's what will make other people decide to come to Egypt.
Yeah. I've been remarkably impressed every time I've gone by how careful they are to take really good care of us. And at first, I think as an American, you feel it like, "Oh, well, I must be in danger if they are being this vigilant about making sure I'm okay." And then after you're there for a while, you're like, "No, actually, it's more of a hospitality thing." I feel like it's more like they want to make sure you're safe because they want to make sure you have a really good time and you really enjoy their country. That's kind of my impression. Would you
I
agree?
agree. I
Yeah.
agree.
Yeah. All right. So tell me what else is going on. We got about 5 more minutes. So tell me, what else do you think people should know about what's going on in Egypt right now? Is anything new happening?
I think if it's in somebody's bucket list, Egypt, um, they must do it now. They must do it now before it gets too crowded.
Well, and
Egypt,
speaking of too crowded, what about that 2026 eclipse thing? You and I were going to have a chat about that. Tell me what's going on with that.
I'm actually working on it at the moment, trying to get, because I think it's going to be crazy expensive. People have been planning for the eclipse 2026 like 2, 3 years ago.
Well,
So trying to get the good spots, good rates, and then we will have chat about it, and then we'll decide we might be offering. Especially that I know of some people who are interested. They did show some interest to come for Egypt to watch the eclipse for 2026. So this is something that we will be working on it. Yeah.
So what's going on is that there's going to be an eclipse, but it's going to, the perfect place to see it in the world is going to be Luxor, right?
It's going to be at the near at the Valley of the Kings,
At
near
the
to the
Valley of the Kings of all
yes,
places. So
the
does that
mount.
mean like there's going to be like mummies rising from their graves or something like that?
I
That
know
seems too like spooky.
I know some of the farmers that already start. I mean, they have contracts with people that trying to rent like a piece of land from the farmers near to the Valley of the Kings, where they can sit and watch the total eclipse for 2026.
That's
Eh,
crazy. So
yeah, the West Bank of Luxor 2026. So this is one of the projects that I'm working on at the moment, in addition to our United Arab Emirates tour that we're gonna also offer for 2025.
all right, so Hoda just let the cat out of the bag. So here's our surprise for this little chat is that Hoda used to live in Dubai and she opened her own company, her own tour company. She did food tours of Dubai. And so we were chatting the other day because it's a little slow in Egypt and we love Hoda. Everybody loves Hoda, especially if you traveled with Hoda before. You want to travel with her forever. You want her to be your guide always. You won't care about me anymore if you like her. I mean, once you meet her, you're going to love her to pieces. So I thought, let's give Hoda another showcase, someplace else that she's really good at and that she'll have fun. So we've been talking about this Dubai thing. So we are kind of vaguely announcing, not officially because we haven't priced it out yet. We're going to be doing a little short Dubai and Emirates getaway that's going to be focusing mostly on Dubai, staying in Dubai, but also going to Abu Dhabi, doing a desert safari. And it's going to be something really, really fun. Right now, just kind of we're spitballing. It'll be maybe November, December of next year. I'm thinking it would be fun to do it over maybe Thanksgiving and then maybe over the New Year. New Year's in Dubai. I mean, I'm assuming the fireworks are spectacular, right?
It is, and it is too much fun. It is
It's
too much.
Yeah. So Hoda and I are working on this project. We're going to try to put something together and get this tour out and for sale. I would hope maybe by the beginning of November. Also, beginning of November, we have actually a slug of end of 2025 tours. It's going to include Christmas in London and a tour of Oaxaca for the Day of the Dead. And these are going to be incredibly cool special feature tours, including the one that Hoda is doing. So our feature tours for 2025 are going to launch in November. And if you're a Patreon member, you're going to get first dibs. So just to let everybody know, we've got cool things in the works. And then this 2026 Luxor experience, we don't know what this is yet. Hoda and I are literally just talking about it now. But I know it's a big deal for some people. And there is no better place in the world to see an eclipse, in my opinion, than the Valley of the Kings, don't you think?
I agree. I
Yeah.
agree.
So Hoda and I have a lot of cool stuff planned, but we just wanted to let you know overall that we're running tours as per usual. We have spots available January.
Next month, October, yeah, October 18th, we have a group of 9 that will be in Egypt, and yeah, and some of those people already were booked for the 2023, but for some reason they didn't make it, so they insisted that they're coming with us for 2024. So yeah,
Yeah.
we'll have a big group next month.
And so Hoda, I'm going to put her on the spot here. You're going to be reporting back for us, right? While you're on that tour next. Yeah.
I will. You're gonna see Adventures with Sarah tour group. Yeah, the third week of October, I will be filming and I will sending pictures and videos for people to see the reality,
Yeah.
see people on the ground, and no better evidence for people that still hesitated and concerned to see people on the ground coming and visiting and enjoying their time.
And the best part about all of this is that this is actually Hoda's baby. Hoda has custom designed every experience from the ground up. She runs the whole thing. And if Hoda's involved, you know it's going to be good. I just have to say that. And anybody who's met her knows that that is true. If Hoda's involved, it's going to be magic. So I'm so excited that you got tours lined up and that everything's going pretty well. And we're so excited about this Dubai idea. So that will be another day. I was thinking maybe I'll have you back, Hoda, and you can actually tell us a little bit about Dubai, because a lot of people may think, oh, why would I go to Dubai? That's silly. It's just a mall. But it's not. It's actually really interesting, isn't it?
It is. It is. Yeah. We'll prepare something about and maybe pictures, slideshows to share with our tour groups, so people will see and know actually what to expect if they go to Dubai.
Yeah, so we'll talk to Hoda when she's done with all of her tours, maybe in November, and we can discuss the Dubai experience. So, well, thank you very much, my darling, coming to us for it's dinner time, I think, in Cairo right now. So thanks for waiting and feeding
Thank
over
you
later.
for having me. Thank you.
It's
Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, thanks everybody for joining us. And as always, you can check out all of these things that we're talking about on my website, adventureswithsarah.net. We've got all of our tours for next year already scheduled and ready to go. We do have availability. You can get to know Hoda in person, which honestly, she's like the nicest person I've ever met. So you're very, very lucky if you get to travel with her, because she's a jewel. So I know I'm biased, but still. All right, sweetie, we'll talk to you again soon. Mwah.
Bye.
All right. Bye, everybody. Thanks for joining us.